How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Positive Mindset Podcast, where we come together to raise our vibration, lift our perspective, and build that positive mindset. My name is Henry, and I'm so thankful to have each and every one of you here today because in this episode, we're going to talk about something that you need to know if you want that positive energy. If you want to live a life that you love, that's fulfilling, that inspires you, then this is going to be the episode for you because we're going to talk about exactly how to do that. But before we get started, we're going to take a few moments to slow down, zero in. We're going to take some deep, healing, meditative breaths to help us align on the frequency that we want in our lives. So pick a word. It could be love, joy, happiness, abundance, whatever frequency you want. And we're going to take a deep breath in. And as you're breathing in, you're going to say that word over and over and over again. Really charge yourself up with that energy. And then as you're holding your breath, visualize yourself doing something in that frequency. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. And out. We're going to take another deep breath. This one's about alignment, about getting ourselves in receiving mode so that we can receive the message that we need to hear to get us in that positive state. So just imagine that you are surrounded by the most healing, uplifting energy that's meant specifically for you. It could have a certain color, a certain taste, a certain smell, however you imagine it. And when you breathe it in, it's going to charge you up. It's going to break down the negativity, the blocks, the weight, everything that's just been holding you back. And once you exhale, anything that no longer resonates with you will leave you and you'll be in a more positive state. So let's go ahead and take another deep breath in. And out. Well, before we get started, if there's something that you take away from this episode that resonates with you, if you're on YouTube or Spotify, you can actually leave a comment below. Not only does that help me know what may resonate or what you enjoy from every episode, but somebody else might read your comment and it might inspire them to give this episode a listen. I want to make this the #1 mindset podcast in the world, and the best way to do that is together. So whether you leave a comment or share this with somebody, it means the absolute world to me, and I could never thank you enough. But let's dive into today's episode. So this is a truth, and this is such a hard truth because it's hard to break. We have societal norms that make this difficult, but you are meant to live a life of passion. You are meant to live a life that you're inspired, that you're excited, that you feel just in flow with, not something that you wake up and do. It shouldn't feel like a task every single day. If I do this, I do this. Of course, there's going to be things that we don't want to do. Of course, there's things that you just have to do. But your life in general should be something that's pulling you towards it, not something you're having to force yourself through. So here's something that I believe, and if you start to take this perspective, it might give you your power back. I believe when we're born, if we're growing up in an environment that's nurturing, that's loving, that's supporting, allows you to really grow into yourself, your inner voice, your inner dialogue is loud. It talks to you. Now, of course, some people go through tough environments and that voice is powerful and they keep listening. But what can happen is through your parents, through school, through teachers, through influencers, whatever it is, they can push you to act against your inner voice by telling you that your inner voice is wrong, that that's childish, that you can't do that that'll never work, whatever it is. So this negative understanding of your beliefs starts getting put within you. When you stop listening to the voice, your guidance system within you, it starts getting quieter and quieter and quieter. And before you know it, you can't hear it at all. When you're disconnected from that voice, which is energy, you start living a life of people pleasing, of doing for others, meaning you're living in a way to where everything you do, you're doing it to make sure other people are comfortable, or other people are happy with you, or other people believe that you're an okay person. That's what happens when you don't listen to your inner voice. But if you're listening to your inner voice, it might tell you that you are meant to live in the woods. and that you're supposed to give people tours and be a hiking coach. Or maybe it tells you that you should be working in professional sports. Or maybe it tells you should be a podcaster, whatever it is. That inner voice is your guidance system. Without it, you're lost. This is where a positive mindset is so important. A positive mindset, what it does is it gives you perspective. When you can lift your perspective enough to look at your life and realize everything you're doing is a calculation based upon what you think other people will think about it, whether it's status, whether it's, how you act, your personality, whatever it is, if you're living in that calculated environment, you will feel empty within. It won't matter what you have externally. It won't matter how much money is in your bank account. It won't matter how good looking your spouse is, how amazing your spouse is, how great your kids are, how awesome your job is, how, just amazing the life is on the external. If you're not listening to your internal voice, you will feel lost. You will feel empty. It's especially difficult when you don't have all the good things and you feel that way. Either way, you cannot escape your internal state. You cannot. There's nothing external that will fix an internal problem. It can never be, I will be happy when. When this happens, I will be okay. When this changes, I will have fulfillment. Yes, external things can impact, but the impact is never bigger than your perspective on the current situation. You can always change your perspective because as you see, you receive. So when you change your perspective, you're able to see things from a new angle. If you're able to see something from a new angle, you receive it from a different angle. You can always change your perspective. You cannot always change the external environment. The external environment is a bit of chaos, a bit of random mix, a bit of test, a bit of heartache, a bit of pain, a bit of love. It's all of it at once. It's constantly giving you opportunities for growth. So when the difficult things are happening, raise your perspective. When the good things are happening, raise your perspective, because as you raise your perspective, you can also reflect. You can start looking at your life and realizing that nothing is truly aligned. It's all based upon society norms, what your parents said you should do, what your friends are doing, what your spouse thinks you should do. It's all based upon that. And so you live a life of acting, of playing the role, not of fulfillment. Now, if you want to hear that voice, one of the easiest steps is start thinking back to when you were a kid. What would kid you do in your current environment? Maybe kid you would want to color, want to paint. Maybe it would want to write a story. Maybe it would want to go on a hike. Maybe it would want to play dress up. Whatever kid you would want to do, you need to go back to that. It's not that you're reverting back to your childhood. That's just the last time you heard that voice. So when you start honoring that voice back then, that voice starts to realize it's being listened to. It'll start speaking a little bit more. It'll start coming back. Once you connect with the former self, it'll connect with the current self. It will guide you. This is where boundaries are important. This is where commitment to your higher self is so important, because people are not going to understand and you have to love them anyway. People are going to give you a hard time. You're going to have to love them anyway. You cannot have anything but love for anybody if you want something different within you. If you want love within you, you can only offer love. You can't offer resentment. You can't offer anger. You can't offer hostility. Any of it has to be love unconditionally, even when you don't receive it. And when you go on your healing path, you are not going to receive love from a lot of people, because most people are so used to you people pleasing, creating this version of you that they've gotten used to, that they lose that version of you. They feel like they're losing their friend. So of course it's hard for them. But that friend that you were to them was not your true self. And if they were able to go on a growth journey, if they were able to raise their perspective, they would understand it. But you cannot dictate whether someone goes on a growth journey. You cannot dictate whether someone levels their perspective. You cannot control somebody loving you. You don't want that power. God doesn't even do that. So why would you want to control how somebody else feels? You can only control your inner state. So find it. Go back to younger you. Start listening to that voice. See what it says about your current environment. See what it says about your job. See what it says about you, and listen to it. And then honor it. If it wants you to go do something, go do it. If it wants you to go have fun, go have fun. If it wants you to go study, but listen to that inner voice. Start doing it for you and put the boundaries up. It's not because you don't like the people. It's not because you want to hurt the people, but you have nothing left to give. Nothing. There's an example I used, I think a few episodes ago, but I definitely talked about it on a podcast I was on recently. So many people talk about filling their cup up, and that's important. But that's stage one. When you fill up a cup, then you have to pour it back out and fill it up. pour it up, fill it up. The goal is to get in the flow state. When you're in flow state, you no longer need the cup, but you can't get there without filling out your own cup, and your cup is empty because you don't give it any love. You don't honor it. You do what everyone else does, so it gets no feeling. It gets no fluid flushed into it, no energy poured into it, nothing. But when you start honoring it, it starts to fill up. When it starts to fill up, you start to feel good. You actually have something to give worth giving. You get to blaze your own trail and give alongside that. And people that want to learn and elevate, they will be able to see what you're doing. They'll be able to absorb that energy. And once you do it so much where you're learning, absorbing, and giving just as much, the cup disappears and the energy flows through you consistently. And then you're truly living your purpose. So go within, grow, and become the rising tide that lifts all ships. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this episode was impactful and gave you a positive perspective on how to find your inner voice. If you want to make sure you don't miss a single episode, make sure you subscribe to my email list. There's a link down below. It will keep you up to date with every single episode. And if you want to follow me on social media, there's my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook group all down below. So I appreciate all the follows there. And if you're ready to level up, if you listen to these podcasts, if you start to shift your mindset, but you want to take the next step, this is what I do. I'm a mindset coach. I help people make these transformations, lift their perspective, build that positive mindset. If you want information on that, you can reach out to me via Instagram or the link down below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I also have my group, Freedom Fundamentals. I've actually had quite a few people ask about that. Join the group. This one, of course, has the mindset, but it's actually diving into health, wealth, and happiness. We talk about real estate, wholesaling real estate, where you can create wealth for yourself, whether you just want to make a little bit of money to reinvest, to pay off some debt, or you want to expand in a new career. It's a great community, and we have some great mindset stuff in there as well. So it's really great for the individual that wants to grow, wants to evolve, and be around people that are doing the same. If you want information on either one of those, Instagram or the link down below, and I'll get back to you. Well, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, and I can't wait to talk to you next time.